Hi, welcome. My name is Emma Alvarez. I'm 17 years old. I'm a student from Tech Milenio and we're gonna talk about the Cold War. Well, the Cold War was a conflict between the Soviet Union, now called Russia, and the US. They were fighting for the world power and with different economic ideologies. The US had the capitalism and the Soviet Union the communism. It started after World War II in 1946. Some of the important dates were the Korean War in 1950, the space race in 1957, the Strategic Arms Treaty in 1969, the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989, and the end of the Cold War in 1991. The Cold War was an era of about 50 years in which there was an restricted rivalry between the US and the Soviet Union. It was waged on political, economy, and propaganda fronts instead of battlefronts. The conflict was about power and the different economic ideologies. As we mentioned before, the US had the capitalism and the Soviet Union had the communism. The capitalism it's based on private entities, and the individuals have their own business, and the government is less restrictive. On the other hand, the communism is based on no private properties. The government owns all the means of production, and it's a bit more restrictive. The capitalism was created by Adam Smith and the communism by Karl Marx. Lastly, we're gonna talk about my opinion of the Cold War. I believe the Cold War was a bit of a ridiculous conflict because they really didn't solve any kind of problem, and there wasn't any good left to the world. In respect of the two economic ideologies, they both had good and bad things. The capitalism, it was good because you can own your own properties, and that way you can improve your social level. But it's also bad because there's a bad distribution of the resources, and it's mostly controlled by a few number of private enterprises. On the other hand, the communism, it was a good thing because the resources are equally distributed, and there's ideally no poor people. But because of it's very hard for us to not be like selfish, it's just easily corrupted, and the resources are only handed to a certain amount of people. Thank you. Hi, welcome. We're here with the Dr. Lara La Rosa that has a PhD in biochemistry, and we're gonna talk about the Cold War. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Okay, so what were the countries, the world leaders during this period?
The USSR, Soviet Union, and the US.
Okay, and what did countries who were allies during the wars became enemies afterwards?
Because during the war they were both fighting against Germany, fascist Germany, but then the Soviet Union became communist. Well, it was communist, so it kept being communist, and the US was capitalist, so they were very different.
And why did the Cold War take place in the first place?
Because of their different economic
Ideology. Okay. What opinion did the general public have of the Cold War in those times?
Well, I was very young, so I don't remember that much. But here in the capitalist side, everybody was afraid of the communists. They said they were very evil. And everybody was also afraid about the Cold War becoming a real war.
Okay. So, the type of weapons, what were the type of weapons that powers had?
They were the atomic weapons, so that was why everybody was afraid that some of the countries would dare to use them because it could mean the end of the world.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Bye.